welcome back to Strange Mind 6. I'm your host Ruby, and today we're going to be getting back into the Octunnumi, but I wanted to just forewarn you guys, if you hear any weird wind type noise in the back, it's just the AC. It's really hot, and but yeah, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. And without further ado, sit back, relax, or grab some snacks and some drinks, and let's get to it, shall we? So you'll be wanting your old ride then. Mansfield's mechanic magic was less magic and more scrap it. Even the use of the word magic was the source of much debate, magic being a word much overused and misunderstood by the masses. However, he was regarded as a genius of all things mechanical. Holder of 5 consecutive trophy cups for the Metal Mania Challenge every year, his family holding all bar one of the prestigious trophies. According to the Mansfield family lore, the one year that they had lost had fairies stamped all over it, as Mansfield Sr. was fond of saying. It was the attention to detail that they had placed in the Mansfield clan as the recognized master craftsmen to the Octunnumi, responsible for most of it, if not all, of the mechanical construction within the HQ. The little shop front stood tucked away down a side alley, virtually hidden by the overhang of a neighboring store, its grubby bull's-eye windows piled high with dull black metal, the Mansfield trademark, the cogs, brackets, wheels, and all manner of things metal, competing with each other for space. The overhead bell had tinkled as Reg pushed the door open and ducked under the sagging timbers to enter the shop, and while they had stood scanning the interior, mainly trying to figure a way through the piles of wooden boxes and dolly tubs filled with tubing, springs, and other paraphernalia, a voice had addressed them from behind the workshop counter. Deciding that to step over stuff is by far the simplest route to take, the professor and the boys begin to pick their way towards the grumpy old man leaning on top of the workshop top at the far end of the shop. With his shock of silver gray hair, wild mustache, and spectacles perched on his nose, he bears more than a passing resemblance to Einstein, a small Einstein. "Boys! Prof!" he mutters. "Mansfield," they reply. "Been a while." Mansfield, not one for pleasantries, continues. "Can't expect me to be giving them no special treatment," he adds as they come closer. "You know, they just be transport like anything else." He looks sideways at Reg. "Sure. Why would you think that's a problem?" Trad asks, ducking beneath a slew of bike chains slung over a beam. "Well," Mansfield replies, lowering his voice to speak directly to Trad, "as I remember it, the last time I had reason to be conversing with your brother there, he was less than happy with the storage arrangements." "Did I hear the word storage, Mansfield?" Reg cuts in. "Because I'm fairly sure we discussed in some detail just how you were to look after my transportation. Did we not?" Reg leans on the counter, bringing them face to face, and storage was not how I would have described my requirements. Well, yes. Mansfield leans backwards, nervously wiping his greasy hands on the ragged apron he wears. But as I said, I wasn't giving them no special treatment. Where are they, Mansfield? Well, Mansfield replies, detecting the slight menace in Reg's voice. If you gentlemen would like to pop back in about now, Mansfield, Reg says, lifting the access point on the countertop and making his way towards the back. Cursing to himself, Mansfield jumps down from the box he is standing on and scurries after him, his little chunky legs struggling to keep up. Look, he pants. You said you wouldn't be needing them for ages. It's been ages, Reg comments without stopping. Yes, it has. And like I said, if you could just give me... Startling Mansfield to an abrupt stop, Reg spins on his heels and crouching, brings himself eye level to the little man. Mansfield, where are they? Reg asks again. All right. Resigned to the fact that Reg is not about to give up, Mansfield mumbles, in here. Perplexed, Reg watches as Mansfield heads toward his private quarters and not the basement below, as he had expected. Okay, Reg says, following. Before Reg can question him further, Mansfield pulls back the heavy curtain in front of them, revealing an archway, and ushers them through. Look, Mansfield, I don't know... What the hell? Reg exclaims, as his eyes adjust to the partially lit room before him. A metallic neigh comes from the shadows, followed by excited snorting. All right. Wait. Mansfield calls, selecting from a bank of switches on the wall, seemingly flickering them up at random. Reg starts, then finding himself at a complete loss for words, stops. Open mouth at the room lights up at various points before them. The large reclining lounger chair, huge, considering Mansfield's stature, facing them is flanked on either side by two larger chairs of bed proportioned, housing big, squidgy mattresses on which Reg's mecha horses are reclined, heads resting on the arms of the chairs between them, the epitome of relaxed, although both officially retired and from very different backgrounds. Neliera Sofar, Rifmiblis, and Astreni Muset Piotrussi had each served in their own unique way the Octunnumi, the Alliance, and its people for as long as anyone could remember, having fought in far too many wars, foiled several rather ingenious plots, and been responsible for the downfall of various villains and foes, the stories of which are still told to children of the Insumids today. They were both held in the highest regard. So when it came to hanging up their official reigns, it came to no surprise that they were asked to be the Erekeeps Ethpho Argric. And although not natural companions, having quite differing opinions on the definition of right and wrong, they each had the utmost respect for each other, allegedly. In front of them stands a small circular table, holding 3 large cocktail glasses festooned with mini umbrellas, fruit, and carrots. 2 of these contain very, very long straws made from various lengths of metal tubing bolted together at odd angles for the mecha horses, one of which, caught mid-sip, finishes with a startled expression and a long, noisy slurp. "It gets lonely here," Mansfield says, smiling at the mecha horses as he tries to explain. "Since my father, well, you know, and the basement," he speaks quietly, not making eye contact. "And they seem to be cold, so..." "Okay, can I just stop you right there?" Trad interrupts, looking down at the blushing Mansfield. "They are metal. They are machines. They do not get lonely, cold, or anything else. They get stored, like a car. They do not get..." He gestures the room. "This." "Mansfield." Reg cuts in. "Reg?" Mansfield hesitates, shrinking away, readying himself for the onslaught of condemnation. "This is amazing, Mansfield," Reg says in awe, heaving a huge sigh of relief. Mansfield gives an embarrassed smile and makes his way excitedly to the back of the room. What clearly had been 2 rooms had very badly been knocked through into one. Ragged brickwork jutted out from the outer walls at either side, large steel girders spanning the space between propped up ceiling held in place by supports of dubious ability. Judging by the way it was sagging, this had been an afterthought. "It's safe," Mansfield says, seeing the boy's concerned expressions and banging a support as he passes to prove the point. "I'm not much of a builder. Metal, wood, and stuff, yes. Brick, no, not so much. Not so flexible, bricks." His explanation is cut short by crumbling plaster showering to the floor in front of him, giving them a quick grin as the dust settles. Mansfield attempts to sweep it under the chair with his foot. Judging by the wires, pulleys, and chains, tracks, runways, cogs, and wheels covering every surface and most of everywhere else, creating a maze-like mass, a machinery that hangs, floats, and swings, crisscrossing the room. This is probably a work in progress. "What does it all do?" Trad asks, inspecting a collection of small buckets hanging just by his head. "Allow me," Mansfield says proudly, eager to demonstrate his devices. He clambers onto his chair, pats each mecha horse on the head, and yanking one of the many levers attached to the chair's side, he sits as it repositions itself upright. "Welcome to our humble abode, gentlemen. Nell, Ashtrani," he smiles, addressing the mecha horse, "if you would be so kind." Each bringing a hoof down hard on the floor, Astrani and Nell set in motion a series of chains, which in turn activate a set of pulleys, allowing a small wheeled box to trundle along the tracks, now slowly spiraling towards the table. A trio of mechanical hands swoops to grab the glasses just as the table begins to unfold itself, segment by segment, creating a much larger version of itself, forcing the boys and the professor to take a few steps backwards On completion, 3 additional seats pop up in front of them. This done, the glasses are returned to the table, top along with 3 more, these having the additional of sparklers. A light drops down low over the table. The little box arrives and slips down a small ramp, stopping abruptly in front of Mansfield, dislodging its cargo of a sealed pack of cards. A pair of dice appears from a mini helter-skelter just to the left, a knell, rolling into the roulette table. As it emerges from the middle of the table, simultaneously 6 arms drop down, depositing 6 piles of chips in front of each of the players, including, it would seem, Nell and Astrani, now sporting Kruper visors, bow ties, and a mean look in their eyes. "So, gentlemen?" Mansfield asks, grinning from ear to ear. "What's your fancy?" As he looks over the selection of games on offer and then, oh, realizing something is missing, he thumps the table and relaxes back at 6 as 6 Hessen sacks drop from the ceiling, landing with a dull thud beside the chips on the table and spilling out nuts and bolts on impact. "Only play for chips or metal here, mind," he says, nudging at the bags. "Just for the game, not the gain," he grins. "Wow," Reg laughs. "Pretty impressive," as he and Trad take a seat at the table. "Do we really have time for this?" the professor asks tersely, having not moved from the archway, immediately dispersing a jovial feeling. "Yeah, sorry, Mansfield," Reg says. "This is really great, but we are here on official business," pulling Trad up as he stands, removing the handful of chips from his brother's grasp and placing them back on the table. Reg smiles at Mansfield apologetically. Sure. Come back when you have more time, and I'll show you the soda maker," Mansfield replies, more than a little crestfallen. "So," he continues, "you'll be wanting your carriage as well then." A sly smile creeps across his lips. "Hold tight," he calls, thumping the table with a jolt. All but one side of the room drops at speed, only slowly inches before contact with the floor below. "Right, then. This way," Mansfield says, unfazed, leaving his recliner and stepping into the basement. Neighing excitedly, Astrain and Nell head for Reg, their ebony metal bodies emulating muscular movement, shimmering in the low light. "Hello, girls. How have you been? Have you missed me?" Reg asks, embracing both muzzles and patting their necks. "Reg," Trad says with an air of impatience. "They are machines. They have no emotions." Snorting their displeasure in response, Trad feels a glob of something slimy hit his cheek, followed by what he is sure is a horse laughing. I know, the nasty man is being mean," Reg says, reaching into his pocket. "Here, look what I've got for you," he adds, pulling out a handful of nuts and bolts. Thrilled, Nell and Astrani eagerly munch the offerings from Reg's hands. "Okay," Trad says, grabbing a cloth and wiping his face. "I'm not sure what bothers me the most, the fact that you are petting lumps of metal or that you carry lumps of metal." "Treats," Reg interrupts. They love them, don't you, my little choochies? Hmm? Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Lumps of metal, Trad continues. Around in your pocket. Always prepared, Trad. Always prepared. Reg smiles as Nell and Ostrani nuzzle his pocket for more. For what? A visit to the scrapyard? No offense, he quickly adds, catching Mansfield's sharp look back at him. Okay, girls, Reg says, addressing to the mecha horses. Let's find our wheels, eh? He snuggles Nell, who responds with a metallic whiny as the professor impatiently waits beside Mansfield. Should we be taking the carriage? Asks Trad, adding hopefully, we could easily take something else, a little less conspicuous perhaps. Slightly ahead of them, Mansfield clicks his fingers, and to his left, a single spotlight snaps on directly over the vehicle housed there. That's what I'm talking about. Trad runs his hands along the silver Lehman's stripes, running up the bonnet of the two-seater racing car. Ah, AC Cobra, he sighs. 427 V8, classic lines, great performance. Trad is stroking the car as he walks around it, opens the driver's door and slides in. A brutal drive for those who don't know how to handle her. He is now running the hands over the dash. But for those who do, he drifts off. Would you two like some time alone? Reg inquires. What? It's a classic, Reg replies, sliding his hands up and down the steering wheel, smiling hopefully at Mansfield through the windscreen as he says, So, it's a yes, Mansfield? Mansfield smiles. Trad's face lights up. No, Mansfield replies flatly, and with another click, plunges the area into darkness. Chuckling, Mansfield turns on his heels, leaving Trad to follow solemnly behind as Mansfield continues walking down the central walkway, clicking lights on and off as they go, saying, And you are also not having this or this, repeating the process for the next 5 bays, thoroughly enjoying himself, while Trad slouches sulkingly behind, trying his best not to look at the delights housed in each illuminated bay. Coming to the end of the rows of gleaming modes of transport, Mansfield turns, gives a theatrical clearing of his throat, and says, Gentlemen, your carriage awaits. Taking a long, low bow and stepping aside as several lights illuminate one by one until finally the custom omnibus is displayed in its full gleaming glory. The recognized transport for the Octunnumi Alliance had been the pride of the Mansfield clan throughout the years, each adding their own particular characteristics with successive refurbishments. Wow, Mansfield, you've really done her proud. Reg smiles as he runs his hands over the shining bodywork. The most recent modifications clearly involved the external curving staircase leading to the once open topped upper deck, both now covered and incorporated within the interior. Yes, well, Mansfield mutters, stepping up to wipe the smears Reg has left on the paintwork. This has always been one of my more specialist models. Surely you're not comparing this rag and bone option. Trad jerks, excuse me, jerks a thumb at the carriage. Two, he gestures back to the vehicles. They have just passed, ignoring him. Mansfield continues his conversation with Reg. So she's had a full service, valet and repairs. It was an accident, Trad mutters, not missing the dig. There is no such thing as an accident, Mansfield retorts. There's just people not paying attention. Hey, that's not fair, Trad protests. Did the tree step out into the road and hit the carriage? Mansfield asks. Or were you too busy impressing a young lady to know you wouldn't make it around the corner? Well, So, not an accident then, Mansfield repeats. Just someone not paying attention. It wasn't intentional. Never said it was, Mansfield adds. But an unintentional action is still not an accident. Anyway, Trad says sullenly, grinding the toe of his boot on the floor. The mechs are supposed to know that stuff. Not when you override them, Mansfield snaps. Unable to find a suitable reposit, Trad mumbles, Fine. So, Mansfield continues calmly. As I said, full body repair and respray, polish and shine. Oh, and I've added a few little extras if you'll just follow me. Reg says, noting the professor tapping his wristwatch irritably. Sorry, Mansfield, he nods to Edgar, but we really do have to be going. Oh, sure. Well, Mansfield replies, deflated, as he moves to the front of the carriage. I'll just hitch up. Seeing that the mech horses are already harnessed and ready to go, he sighs. Oh, right. Well, then, it seems you're all set. And that, my dear friends, is the end of the chapter. That actually seemed kind of like cool, like the mechanic and everything, Mansfield setting up that with the mecha horses. That seemed really cool. And what he said about Trad's driving, that's honestly true too nowadays. But definitely give this video a like, and if you're not already, please subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. And that is the end of the video, my dear friends. This is Ruby, signing off.